Thank you, Bob. It's good to see you all. Good to be together on this snowy day as we await the arrival of spring, acknowledging the beauty that is around us as we wait for nature to unfold. We gather here this morning to worship, to seek the truth, to grow in love, to join in service, to celebrate life's beauty and to find healing for its pain, to create a more compassionate world beginning with ourselves, to wonder at the mystery that gave us birth, to find courage for the journey's end, to listen for the wisdom that speaks to us in the quiet and the wonder of this moment. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, I invite you to take it now and light it. And even though you may be muted, to join me in these words for our chalice lighting. We kindle this flame to illuminate the world we seek. In the search for truth, may we be just. In the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. I'm going to lead off with a meditation this morning. As Bob and Gail and Chuck mentioned, I think all of us have been in a state of shock and disbelief this past week. The images that we've been seeing are horrific and seem to belong to another time and place. I talked briefly with Marianne Ferretti on the telephone this week. She said that she had left Ukraine with her mother when she was 5 years old, as the Germans were bombing the country of her birth. And she is aghast to see history repeating itself. It seems that we're looking at newsreels that belonged to another time and place, but here they are again, haunting our present. And as Gail said, presenting us with profoundly difficult choices. So my meditation is for these times. In this season of war and rumors of war, in the widening gyre of violence, filled with bleeding headlines and talking heads, in a world full of passionate intensity, let us not be among those who lack all conviction, but stand by our faith that love has power. Our faith that people who are committed to their ideals and who are committed to each other can overcome long odds. It's been said that prayer is not magic, but it is an act of love. The poet W.H. Auden said that prayer means paying attention to something larger than ourselves. And so this morning we send our prayers to the people of the Ukraine who refuse to be victims of history in their struggle for self-determination, in their fight for the most basic of human rights, the right to live in peace. Let peace abide in our hearts, our minds, charity, not malice, hope, not fear, wisdom to see that what we share in common across every boundary is stronger than any force that separates or divides. In one spirit, we unite in saying no to tyranny, to bloodshed, in supporting and saying yes to those who purchase freedom with their lives in honor. God, hear our prayer. Amen. The weather did not cooperate this morning because my service is focused on the coming of spring, primavera. The reading this morning is in that vein. It's from the German philosopher Johann Goethe. Goethe was a religious freethinker. He studied science and nature to unlock the symmetry and order of creation. Along with novels and poetry, he wrote treatises on color and meteorology and astronomy, and he was especially drawn to botany, calling the physiology of plants a holy puzzle, which he believed that he had unraveled with his theory that everything is a leaf in constant metamorphosis from seed to fruit, but always returning to its leafy origins. Just as the entire plant can be resolved to a single leaf, he also believed that nature is everything, and everything is nature, to whom he gave a feminine persona. We are encompassed and embraced by her, powerless to withdraw, yet powerless to enter more deeply into her being. Uninvited and unforewarned, we're drawn into the cycle of her dance and swept along until exhausted, we drop from her arms. We live within her, yet are foreign to her. Conversing with us endlessly, she never divulges her secret. She has neither language nor voice, but creates tongues and hearts through which she speaks. She is enamored of herself, adorning herself with countless eyes and hearts, never weary of flaunting herself. She creates new beings to admire her. She's putting on a spectacle, but whether she's watching, we cannot tell. Yet she is producing it for us who stand in the wings. By resisting her laws, we obey them. When we're intent on working against her, we're most in harmony with her. She is gracious, and I praise her work. She is wise and serene. We wrest no secrets from her, extort no gifts, receiving only those which she yields of her own free will. Love is her crown. Through love, we may know her. She has separated her creation by cleavages, yet in them is the urge to draw close. She has put them apart that she may draw them together. She has brought me here and will escort me hence. I entrust myself to her care. She may do with me as she pleases. Even now, it is not I who am speaking of her. No, these are her words, both the true and the false, and hers is the blame. and the glory. My talk this morning focuses on the ultimate questions of who we are, where we come from, where are we going, what are we doing here, what's it all about? Is there some bigger purpose, some destiny, some larger task that we are meant to fulfill? And the answers all depend. For instance, if you're a cloud, what it's all about is gathering moisture from the air and raining it down to nourish the plants, which breathe, releasing water back into the sky. 1 minute the cloud looks like a camel, 1 minute it looks like a turtle, but the cloud is not worried, it's not sorry, it's serene. The cloud is transitory, it's almost formless. It lets go in order to let be. If you are a leaf, on the other hand, it's all about absorbing sunlight and turning those wavelengths into sugars for energy to produce seeds, to make more trees to sustain a forest. An apple tree can have 100,000 leaves. An elm may produce 1,000,000, and each one is a verdant solar panel. Every leaf is a marvel of engineering, but it's just a small part of the whole. So the question is, who are you? And what's your purpose? And I think the answer is that you're awesome. You're older, you're grander than you realized. Your particular life began billions of years ago when inexplicably things started. Some call this the Great Radiance. It's often called the Big Bang, but I prefer to call it the Big Budding. It's when the world leafed out and you budded too. Let me suggest that you didn't just stumble into this scenario by accident. Your being here is not some cosmic fluke or anomaly, and you weren't placed here by any otherworldly or supernatural forces either. Rather, what you did is you grew, you developed, you sprouted rather organically and without artifice, like a melody develops from a single chord, like a diamond is formed from eons of perfect conditions of heat and pressure, like a rainbow, where you can never quite see where it begins or where it ends. You are here for reasons that stretch to forever and beyond. Years ago, the philosopher Alan Watts observed that we do not come into this world, rather, we come out of it as leaves from a tree. As the ocean waves, the universe peoples, and every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. So celebrate, because from the beginning, your life and the lives of countless others, from stars to starfish, was written into the world lines of a cosmos predisposed toward the unlikely possibility that something would exist instead of nothing, that life would evolve out of seemingly inanimate atoms and molecules, that consciousness and self-awareness would originate out of apparently dumb minerals and vegetables, and that freedom and moral choice would arise transcending the leap from what is to what should be. So our task here is to fully realize who we are, more than carbon-based egos struggling for survival and top billing on this astronomically insignificant bit of real estate. That's the worry. This is the existential dread that human beings are nothing but glorified feeding tubes equipped with holes for ingesting and excreting on either end, but doomed to eventually wear out like all mechanical things. And this is the definition of nihilism. No one, nothing means anything or ultimately matters at all, really. But I do believe otherwise. I believe we're here for some purpose. We have a role to play. We do matter. We are meant for each other. And this is not just a statement of faith. I think it's the plainest fact. Years ago, I was visiting a coming of age class where the students were writing their credo statements, and they were learning all about the varieties of Unitarian Universalism, whether you were a Christian or a theist or a humanist or something else. And it was all very dry stuff, actually, yet it was springtime. And as I looked out the windows of the classroom at the verdant profusion outside, it dawned on me. This was the Southland, so there were sweet gums and poplars and hickories. They were all transfused with that iridescent hue. When the first little leaves are golden, when they're shimmering like amber, and I could almost feel the sap rising in me. And I realized that I am not a theist. I am not a deist. I am not a Christian. I am not a humanist. I am not a pagan. What I am is a leaf. I am a leaf, just here for a very short time upon this earth. Arrived yesterday, gone tomorrow, enjoying my little moment in the sun, but here with a job to do. The health of the whole tree from root to crown depends on me. The flourishing of the entire forest and all the living creatures who inhabit it depends on me and every other little leaf contributing its part. So I have an important role to play. But you know what? It would also be silly and self-centered for me to suppose that the miracle of spring that sweeps across the northern hemisphere every year because of the planet's tilt occurs because of me, or that the twig and the limb and the branch and the trunk are all here for my benefit, or that all that sunshine pours down just so that I can absorb its rays. All those countless leaves that fall to form the soil of the forest floor, that's my fate too. As a leaf, I'm just a small part of a much bigger performance. Finding my own niche in this world means aligning myself with that larger, more lasting life of which I'm just a fragmentary, momentary expression. This is really how I see it. A leaf doesn't complain that one of its neighbors may be a little higher in the canopy. It doesn't spend its time worrying after autumn comes, then what? It's not boastful or cynical or resentful. Rather, it cooperates. It gathers up and then it gives away. It unfolds and passes on its energy to another generation of leaves that come after, and it's beautiful, always, always reaching toward the light. It's a joint effort here. I recently learned that photosynthesis itself began about 2 billion years ago when blue algae and certain cyanobacteria combined forces to form a kind of merged enterprise. And those bacteria became chloroplasts, green dynamos living inside the cells of larger organisms in a symbiotic community, because all of life is a community. Trees in the forest communicate with each other. We're learning to share nutrients and guard against common foes. They are not standalones or lonely sentinels. We can believe the research of Suzanne Simard, a forest ecologist. There are mother trees that share water and carbon and nitrogen along their roots and fungal networks with seedlings nearby, propagating and protecting the next generation. So what is it that you're propagating? What is it that you're passing on? Henry Thoreau once said that a man should compare favorably with a tree. But what a high standard, to be as sturdy and unpretentious as a tree, to be as audacious but humble as a leaf, to be as tranquil and untroubled as a cloud. Every leaf is different. As Jane Goodall writes, some leaves are delicate, some are tough and armed with prickles, others are long and stiff like needles, some are big as umbrellas. The flashy reds of poinsettias and the varied hues of bougainvilleas that look like flowers are actually leaves in disguise, embellished to attract pollinators. They're all varied, all tricked out, but as she says, each one is a work of art. At some point in your spiritual development, you come to the realization that the proper response to the question, what's it all about? The correct response to that is, it's not all about me. So what I am, or what I would like to be, is a leaf. The universe was certainly not designed to perpetuate me, but I may be here to protect and celebrate nature in all its glory. So love your neighbor, because your neighbor is your larger self. Love the beauty and intelligence that creation manifests. The great religions and modern science agree that we are siblings. We truly are sisters and brothers, whatever your sect or tribe, whether two-legged or four-legged. We earthlings share a common origin and come from a single womb. We are in this together. Separateness is an illusion. Interdependence is the reality. Which brings us back to our original questions. Who are you? What's your purpose here? Would you like to have a scientific answer, a no-nonsense answer? I think the answer is that you are a repository for sunlight. You're not the sun, but you are a channel, a receptacle for all the brilliance and creativity that suffuses our world. You're here to gather it all up with gladness and then gift it back to the wider community with generosity. So go green. Care for the environment because you are the environment. There is no point at which you end and the universe begins. Don't forget to breathe, to shine, and to follow your own growing edges. Be a leaf. Thanks for listening.
Bob, I think you're on mute.
Hopefully I'm off mute now.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Before I ask Gary for our closing words, I want to take a moment to thank our members and friends for their continued financial support of the congregation. Your willingness to share your resources with the congregation is crucial to our ability to continue our mission, even as we meet virtually during COVID-19. Earlier in the service, I mentioned the Ukrainian refugee crisis underway in Eastern Europe. One of the important ways that we can assist the responses to that crisis is the UN Refugee Agency. UNRA has organized a massive effort in the countries on Ukraine's borders to provide emergency relief services to the Ukrainian refugees arriving from all over Ukraine. To donate to UNRA's Ukrainian relief programs, you can go to their UNHCR Ukraine emergency on your search engine. And I'll also ask Rachel to post their website in a follow-up email. Now, Gary for closing words, and then to Martha for our postlude.
Go in peace, speak the truth, give thanks each day, respect the earth and her creatures. They are alive like you are. Care for your body, it's a wonderful gift. Live simply, be guided by your faith and not your fear. And now we extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of caring, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us again until someday soon, we hope we are together again.